My name is Mark Buckhalter, and I'm a member of Community Association Resource Group, affectionately known as CARG. Today's webinar is going to be about roofing, which sometimes can be a dirty word, but unfortunately, that's what protects our homes. And I know that we had a lot of interest, especially now that we're in the middle of hurricane season. In addition to that, with all the reserve requirements, it's really a hot topic. COG in itself is a consortium of various vendors and professionals that cater primarily to condos, HOAs, all associations. Some of the members of CARG, some have joined us already, some will be joining us. Is we have some specialties as banking, which is Popular Association Bank. We also have Mossy from Cable Consultants, which basically most communities have cable and internet. And rather than negotiating it, it's a lot better going ahead and going through a cable consultant who knows, all the pitfalls and all the pluses and minuses to help you with that. We also have an elevator company, which is Maori Elevator. We have Craig Saxner from Professional Building Services that does janitorial and light maintenance. We have Charles, which is one of our founding members from GRC Landscaping. He happens to be on. We have Pest Control, which is Forever Gone. We also have a pool contractor that does contracting and service. That's Hickson Pool. We have a new member for paving, which is DMI Paving. And we are having an insurance broker that's going to be joining us very shortly, which is Valley Insurance. The person that I didn't mention yet is Dennis from Paletz Roofing. And, it was interesting because when we met with Dennis, basically, right off the bat, we felt like it was a family-owned and operated business, which is nice to deal with because, if something goes wrong, it's the family members that are getting hurt by that. So they make sure and they insist on the quality and the service. And right off the bat, Dennis is one of the family members, and he's just an all-round nice guy to deal with, an easygoing guy to talk to. And Paletz has been around forever. I'll let Dennis go ahead and go through that with you. But they've been around and you can rely on them. Let me just see if there's anything else I just wanted to just quickly cover. Usually on a monthly basis, we try to go ahead and have these webinars. The next one that's coming up will be pest control towards the end of the month, and you'll be getting some flyers with that. Basically, that's really it. I'll be jumping in and out, asking some questions from the audience, and some questions that I may have. And I guess I forgot to mention, my name's Mark, and I do condominium accounting. So we do monthly accounting for the condominium associations. We don't do any property management. We strictly do the monthly accounting. So with that, Dennis, if you're ready, I'm going to turn it over to you. And any question, let me just say this, any questions that the audience has, you'll be able to use the chat feature and you can type it in, or if you raise your hand with the buttons below, you can actually be live and you can discuss your question or issue that you would like to be answered.
Sounds
Dennis?
good. And Mark, I'm Jeff.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Just want to mention one quick thing. The chat area and the Q&A area are two different areas. So you're going to use the Q&A module to ask your questions if you want to type them in. As Mark said, if you want to verbalize your questions, you're going to hit the raise your hand button one time. So it'll keep your hand up. In the order in which you do it, will enable your mic. You ask your question. And then in the chat area, which is different from the Q&A, press the chat button one time simply so it appears. It's going to say chat is disabled for you. Don't worry about that. There's nothing for you to enable. That's where we're going to place a very brief a link for a very brief evaluation at the end. This way, if you want some contact from anybody that Mark mentioned today or from our speaker Dennis, that's where you'll fill out. We'll submit it. We'll get the information to them. We don't share it with anybody unless you tell us. We promise. But that's the link in the chat later. You'll press that, click on that to fill out the evaluation at the end. So, Dennis, Mark, Charles, take it away, guys.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dennis from Paletz Roofing. I appreciate you all coming in and taking some time to get prepared for this hurricane season we have. Very thankfully, it's been a very quiet one, so that's obviously a great thing for all of us. So, yeah, here at Paletz Roofing, we've been in business over 20 years. We are family owned and we have a great reputation around town. And we just want to make sure that you all are informed as much as possible so that you know the do's and don'ts of, getting prepped for this hurricane season. So, one of the first things that we're going to go over is you want to make sure that you create a detailed roof file. So it's pretty simple. You just want to get all of the roof drawings that you could find from when your building was built, and you want to try to get those plans. You want to try to get any approval letters that you have from manufacturers and get those into the file. And then the next thing you want to do is try to find any installation records you have. So if you have a copy of the permit when the roof was laid down, you want to get that and go ahead and put it in there. Any kind of field reports or any kind of warranty documents, anything that you have that was filed from when your roof was put on, you would want to actually get those and put those in the file as well. And then also another thing that you would want to do is any maintenance. If you've had any maintenance, if you have a maintenance contract, you want to get that maintenance contract in your file as well. And you also want to have any kind of repairs. If you've had any repairs over the years, you want to keep those and keep them in the files. If you have any records of modifications that were done, if you had anything added to your roof, let's say large air conditioners, anything like that, the more records you have, it's going to be better. And then also for like rooftop equipment, if you have any service records from any other air conditioning companies or anything like that, it's better to have more than less. And that's what you want to do to go ahead and create a nice detailed roof file. And what that's going to do is it's going to help you later because the insurance companies, if you happen to have a claim, are going to want as much information possible to make that process go smoothly as possible. So that would be your first thing, is creating a nice detailed roof file. So if anybody has any questions on how to create a file or any additional questions, this would be a great time to ask if there's anything out there that you all need.
Dennis, what's the purpose of this now?
Okay, so a roof file, what it does is it at least you have a file prepared to where if there is a claim, that you're going to be asked these questions from your insurance provider, and you don't want to wait till after the storm, and now you're trying to scramble to get forms and see who did the roof, what type of roof it was, what year was it put down, how many leaks have we had, have we had any leaks, have we had repairs. So if you could put together this file now, what it's going to do is just save you a whole bunch of times later, and you're going to be prepared, so that you're not scrambling and trying to contact all these people after the storm, because everybody knows after storms it's not easy to get a hold of everybody. A lot of people are not in their office at all to be contacted. And then if you wait till after to do all this, then that's what you're going to be up against. So we just want to make sure that you're prepared and that you have everything possible that the insurance companies are going to need. So that way you're not trying to scramble and find, get a hold of people after the storm.
What's your thoughts on taking pictures of the roof?
I think it's very important. So that's one of the things that insurance companies always want to see. And here at Paletz, we do inspections. If you call us, we can schedule one. We do our best to keep the cost low for you. But there is a cost because we have to have people come out there and it does take time. And before hurricanes, we get many, many, many calls. So we want to make sure we get to everybody. So the best thing to do is go ahead and schedule something prior to the hurricane. And it's a good idea to do it not just when the hurricane's on its way. If you know hurricane season's coming and you could get an inspection done, then you're good to go. And even if you have one that was from a couple years ago, at least you have something documented, because the insurance companies, they want to see something. They don't want you to say, hey, we have hurricane damage. What was your condition of your roof? Oh, well, it was great. Okay, they're going to ask for photos. Oh, we don't have no photos. Okay, well, what was the maintenance package you had? Well, we don't have no maintenance. So when you don't have nothing to show, it's not a good look for them, and then that gives them more reasons to try to complicate the process. So what we want you to do is be as prepared as possible. And yeah, the best thing to do is get pictures. And even if you can't hire a professional roofing contractor to come out and you sell yourself short on time, you could definitely take your own photos, back up off the building, get some photos, just get something, because something is better than nothing. And then also we do drone inspections. So if you couldn't afford to have an extensive inspection done, we do have the option where if you called us up and said, hey, we have a 3-story roof and we can't get up there, and we're worried because we have no pictures of our roofs. If you called our office and let us know that, then we would at least get you on like a drone list where we could at least get out to you for a small cost and at least get some pictures taken for you, I'm sorry, so that you would have something, to put in your file. Because yeah, that's what the roof file, that's what it's for. It's just to protect you and to make sure that you have, everything in order for the case where you do have some damages and you need to go through your insurance.
John is asking if you have a checklist that's available.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mr. John, and good morning. And yes, we absolutely do have a checklist, and we will have that available for you. What we can do is after this webinar, if you reach out to me, I will go ahead and send you over a checklist, and I'll get you all of those things for you, and you could download them into your computer, or any way that you can. You could take some screenshots if it's a little bit easier. If you're not good with the computer, you could just take out your phone, take a picture of the screen. So yeah, we will definitely make some checklists available for you after the webinar.
Perfect.
Dennis, I
Yeah.
have a question. Do you assist in the permit processing application process?
Absolutely. So here at Paletz Roofing, all of our jobs are, first of all, we're licensed, of course, like I mentioned, for over 20 years. So all of our jobs are permitted. So yeah, we assist from permits from A to Z. And so that's something that we make sure we always take care of with our customers. So yes, we would definitely handle any permitting that you have. As far as for hurricane preparation, there's not much permitted issues that you're going to need. It's going to be a lot of homework, like what we talked about earlier, is kind of getting into it and making sure you have a file of everything and as much information as you can. So you really won't request no permits to have any kind of a pre-inspection. So you don't have to worry about that. But yes, we would handle any permits that you need moving forward with any repairs or anything like that. We handle those, but you won't have to worry about permitting before a hurricane, because basically you're just going to be doing inspections and stuff like that.
All right. Why don't you continue, Dennis, with your presentation?
All right, perfect. Okay, so yeah, so now that we've went over what it is to do your file, to get your roof file ready, so that's number one, is just to kind of get all the information that you need so that you have your roof file put together. So I hope everybody understands the roof file. If not, you could reach out after the webinar and I will make sure to get you over the checklist, and I could go over anything that you don't understand again. And so after you get your roofing file put together, then you want to have your before hurricane checklist, which is John asked about it. So yes, that's definitely the next step in the process. So we spoke about it a little before. The first thing you want to do in your checklist is you want to make sure you have videos, and you want to make sure you have pictures of your roofing system, and you want to have it to show what your condition was of your roof before the storm. So that's number one. And then the second thing you want to do is, and that's the part about the inspection, is it's better to have, if you have maintenance men, and a lot of you have amazing maintenance men, and that's a great thing to have. A lot of you don't. So if you don't have maintenance men, here's a couple of things that you want to look at or have your maintenance men look at, or this is a couple of things that we would look at. So you have other components on top of your roof that the roofer is not control of. And one of those things is like exhaust fans and intake vents and air conditioning units. You have solar panels, satellite dishes, you have gutters and downspouts. And so those things, those are a lot of things you want to get looked at. And they're things that not necessarily pertain to a roofer. So you can have those looked at by your air conditioner contractor, or like I said, your maintenance man. So, your exhaust fans, those are going to be the small fans that are mounted on top of the curbs that are above your roof. And those are the ones that are most susceptible to wind damage. They have these metal shrouds that go on there, and they're a lighter gauge metal. And when we get really high winds, it rips them off. And once it rips them off, then you have your motors exposed to the elements. And if it continues to rain hard, you could actually get rain that will come on down into the building. So before a hurricane, if you can have somebody go up on there and look at all of these shrouds and the way that the fans are even screwed down to the bases, because a lot of times you have maintenance men or you have air conditioning contractors that you have hired, and they've went up there and they've did repairs. And sometimes, unfortunately, people forget to put the screws back in panels, and it's such it's a simple thing that it's unfortunate that something so can be easily mistaken and cause so much damage at the end, because a panel not screwed on, or a lot of times your panels get rusted around the screws, so they're compromised and they're not as strong as they were. And when we do get the extensive winds and you lose a panel, first of all, you have a panel flying off at 100 miles an hour, which is terrible for people, but it's also terrible because if it's bouncing across your roof, it's going to make a hole every time it bounces across the roof. So it's an important thing to have someone go ahead and look at your exhaust fans and any intakes and any kind of metal panels, air conditioners, just to see if everybody put their screws back in while they were doing maintenance and stuff like that. It's something we see all the time. You'd be surprised. A lot of times we go up on roofs and you see panels of air conditioners literally just laying on the roof, like the people just sometimes don't forget it. They forget totally to put them on all the way. So that's one of the main things. Also on your condenser units, the units themselves are actually strapped down to the bases of the mounts. And a lot of times the same thing, when people put new ones on, they forget to screw those on. And a lot of times the old ones are just compromised from this Florida weather we have. A lot of you are close to the ocean, so you have that salt. Which the salt is obviously going to affect, the metal, and you get that deterioration. And then those tie down clips are not as strong because of the weather and because of the deterioration. And then, you have a weak spot. So that's another thing that you want to kind of look at. Another thing is satellite dishes. A lot of these older buildings have satellite dishes that are not even used anymore. You know what I mean? They've been disconnected for many years, and they're laying up there, and a lot of them just have cement blocks laid on top. A lot of other trades will take the cement blocks and go use them as a seat while they're working on the air conditioner. And now you have your cement blocks that were supposed to hold down your satellite dishes, and they're used as seats all over the
I'm gonna
roof.
say my satellite dish is sitting next to my fax machine.
Exactly. Believe it or not, you still see them up there. And a lot of times they're actually screwed to the parapet walls. And, they're screwed to the walls, which is obviously through your membrane of the roof. You're not using them no more, but they're still there. And it's basically a wind sail. So the satellite dishes are the first to go usually during the high winds. So you want to have someone look at those, because 9 times out of 10, you're not even using them anyway. And if you weren't, then you could have your maintenance guy at least cut or take down the satellite part, the big round part, so that it's not catching wind and it doesn't rip it off the wall and rip off your membrane. And now you have a leak that for a component that you haven't even used in years. So satellite dishes are a big one. And also roof drains, you know what I mean? We have so much trees here and stuff like that a lot of your buildings are lower and you have a lot of trees around, and you have, drains that are clogged with leaves. And the last thing that you want during a hurricane, when we're going to have torrential downpours, is to have a whole bunch of clogged drains, and it's something that's so easy to fix. But like I said, a lot of times you don't have good maintenance, a good maintenance department, or you have no maintenance department at all. And, something small as that can be taken care of prior, and it can make your roof in a lot better condition where you're not going to have severely ponding water, and you're going to be able to have that roof draining properly while we're having those torrential downpours. So that's another thing. And another thing is like your gutters as well. You know, having those cleaned and making sure that they're, you know, up to performance and they're okay. Because the same thing with those, a lot of the downspouts connect to gutters, and then it looks like it's good from the roof, but of course the water goes down into the gutter, and then it's getting clogged there, and then your gutters are getting ripped off the buildings because of, you know, when the wind picks up and it's full of water. Now it's a whole different story. You know, when your gutter's clogged and we don't have high winds, hey, the water takes a long time to run down. Nobody notices, everything's okay. But when the gutter is full of water and the wind comes and rips it off, now you're talking about, you know, a whole different story. You have a, you know, a heavy piece of metal filled with water flying through the air, and it's not a good idea. So that's another thing. And another one is going to be the a lot of the older buildings of you guys still have the old spin vents. And those are those vents that actually spin in a circle, you know, the old school ones that we all know and we all remember. So those still work fine, you know, and they do their job. But the problem with those is the wind gets on them and it rips them off. So one of the things that we always recommend to our customers is that if you know that we have you know, a hurricane or tropical something that has high enough winds that you're worried about it, you definitely want to make sure that you could send your maintenance men up there. You could contact us to go up there. And what we do is we remove those and we put a cap on there for now. And what that does is, at least now you're not going to have that turbine ripped off in the middle of the hurricane. And then you have a 12-inch round opening that's allowing all water to come in your roof. So that's a really easy one that a lot of people overlook for some reason. And a lot of people just don't know. So yeah, those spinning vents, they're outdated. They still work, but they're a major weak point. So it only takes a couple dollars and somebody to go up there and take it off and put a cap on. And then that could actually save you thousands and thousands of dollars, because like I said, a 12-inch round hole wide open throughout the rest of the storm. And then not only the rest of the storm, but then, you know, it's hard to get people out there. And if if you're working with a 3-story building and you can't get up on there on your own, you know, then you definitely want to make sure that you have someone come out and do it. You know, you don't want to leave a really weak part of your roof exposed like that during storms when we know that we have that much, that much wind that can affect your roof. So yeah, the spinning vents are I would say those are the weakest points out of all of them. We talked about the exhaust fans because those are weak points as well. They have those light metal shrouds that they're first to fly off. And then also like skylights. If you have skylights, you know, it's not an idea to go ahead and cover those. You know, if you can get some really thick canvas and you could cover skylights and, you know, get some bags and put them around them, you know, have your maintenance men do their best to do what they can to protect them. Or of course, if you call someone like us out, what we're going to do is we're going to, you know, cover it with metal, and we're going to cover it with plywood, and we're going to, you know, do it professionally. So you definitely want to take a look at your skylights, because skylights, of course, are a piece of glass up on your roof. And yes, they are engineered to go ahead and to take certain amounts of impact. But of course, during a hurricane, you don't know what's being blown from other buildings and other places. So skylights are a good thing to look at, and they're a good thing to make sure that you protect. So so that's another one. And then another thing is just looking over the roof and doing an inspection. I mentioned a little bit earlier that sometimes you have weird circumstances where people take things that don't belong there. A lot of times you have air conditioning contractors and they go up there and they do air conditioning repairs. And unfortunately, they're not always very clean and they're not always very reliable at bringing down the old equipment. So a lot of times we go up there to look at roofs, and you know, you would see a air conditioning contractor, change the compressor out, gave them a brand new compressor, which is a beautiful thing to have, but he takes the old compressor and he leaves it on the roof next to the new, you know, the old unit, which is terrible. You know, that thing again is going to blow across the roof on the high winds, and every time it rolls, it's going to puncture your roof, and that's going to be, you know, possible place for you to have a leak. So yeah, even just the basic inspection, just to look for things like that, is going to be very, very important. Another thing is like metal attachments, just in general. So besides your exhaust fans that are getting screwed down to your roof level, you also have different kind of metals that are up on the side of the buildings. You have louvers. Louvers are the little metal pieces of um, in the openings that cover the openings that let air in and out of your building. Well, a lot of your older buildings have ones that are severely outdated. The new ones are required to have a code from Miami-Dade, and they're impact and missile resistant, and they're put together like tanks. A lot of the older buildings, you're going to have very outdated older covers on the penetrations, the holes that go through the walls in your building. So on those, you just want to make sure the same way. You want to make sure everything is screwed down to your roof, like we talked about in the beginning. But you're also going to want to make sure that anything that's screwed to your building is screwed down properly, which would be like awnings, which would be like decorative panels, which would be louvers, you know what I mean? So you just want to kind of not only look down as you're looking at your inspection and going over, but you also want to take a look at your building and just kind of look around and see also what's mounted to the sides and what's mounted to the walls, and be able to look at the fasteners. A lot of times, people screw things into the wall. The screws get old, and it's easy to see if you look up there at a mount, and you can kind of see the screws rusted out, and you can see it's already pulling off the wall a little bit. And this is your time. This is your time to correct it, And this is why hurricane prevention is so important. And it shouldn't be waited. You shouldn't wait till the hurricane is right breathing down our neck, You should take a minute to look at these things every season, and it doesn't mean you have to go ahead and have the most extensive inspections and go through the roof every single year, but you should definitely at least have it done one time every couple years. And you should definitely have a file made, the file we talked about. And even if you have that file made from the people in-house, that's fine too. At least you have something to protect you. But these things are important, and a lot of times, this community of HOAs is in these last couple of years, we're learning how much work it is and how much it can affect your investment. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't have a lot of experience with it, and gratefully, people are learning more now. But it's just something that it's information. Information is knowledge, and information is wealth. And whether you use Paletz Roofing or not, we just wanted to take some time today to make sure that you're educated and that you can know some of the basic things. And even if you can't afford to use these services, I want to make sure that I tell you as much as possible so you could possibly do it yourself. So I think it's important, and I think a good community is what makes us strong. And we just at Paletz Roofing, we love our community and we love to serve and be a part of it. So we want to make sure that we do our best to educate everybody so that they can learn something today and possibly save money and save possibly a life, because when you have things flying around during a hurricane, it's not what you want. So, and hurricane prevention like this is going to be, the first step of making sure we're all safe, and not just our properties, but, us as people. So it just wanted to stop for a minute just to make sure. Does anybody have any additional questions or concerns or?
Dennis, there's another question as far as the type of different roofing systems. If you can explain that to everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. So typically, and that's a great question, by the way. So yes, so down here in Florida, we have a couple of typical roofing systems that we use. TPO is going to be a first one. That's a very common one because it's more affordable, and it's a vinyl type of a roof, so it is less durable. It's literally kind of like a canvas material. It reflects sunlight really good. It's white. So it's very good for protecting from water. It's a good water barrier, but it's not as durable. So it's susceptible to getting holes punctured easier. So those are one of the, if you have a TPO system, you want to be very, very observant on if people left equipment on your roof, and you want to be very observant to make sure everything is screwed down properly. Because that's the type of roof where if you have something rolling across the roof, you're going to get punctures everywhere it touches it. Especially when you're talking about metal, things are a little bit more heavy. They're definitely going to make holes. So yeah, TPO is a great option. There's nothing wrong with it, but you want to make sure that you protect it. And a lot of people that when you have a TPO roof, you want to make sure that you are observant of your trees, because a lot of times when you got your TPO roof, you didn't have trees and everything was good and it was a great idea. And here we are 5-6 years later, and some of these trees in South Florida can grow so fast that before you know it, in 1 year, you got these almond trees and they're 15 feet tall. So you want to make sure when you have a TPO roof that you take a peek around and you make sure that your landscaping hasn't grown above your roof line, because if your roof line's down here and now all of a sudden you have your trees that are extending above it, of course, when the tree gets compromised, it's going to break, it's going to roll across your roof. And when you have TPO roof, it's going to make holes. So TPO is one of the options that you'll see mostly used these days. They are a great option, but they are less durable. And then your other option is going to be your typical modified roof. So your modified roof is going to be the one that you look at that kind of has like the white small rocks on it, granules on top of it. There's a couple different kinds that they have. But in the end of the day, this is a much more stronger choice, and it's a better roofing system as far as durability. That it can be put down with hot mop. That's kind of the old school method. We do hot mop still, but 80% of our jobs now we do torch down. Torch down is going to be the same roll. They come in about 36 inches, and you roll them out. But instead of putting hot mop down, what we do now is the newer systems use the torch to heat, the tar as you roll out the roll. So that's a much better. It's a much more durable system. It does cost more money, so some people lean against it, and they go with TPO. I always recommend people not to just go with TPO because it's cheaper. Look at your options. Do you have trees around? That's a big factor. Second thing on TPO is, do you have a lot of air conditioning units? If you have a ton of air conditioning units, I tell people to stay away from TPO unless they have a very strict maintenance protocol, because everybody's in charge of having their own air conditioning contractor come up. No one keeps track of who came up when they came up. And if you have a HVAC contractor that is a little bit messy and he's throwing screws around, he doesn't clean them up, and then he's stepping on the screws can make holes in the TPO. We do put walk pads around air conditioning units, but like I said, it's just with TPO, you would just really want to look at it. I don't refer it to everybody, and I make sure that there's certain things that we don't want to have when you're going with a TPO. And one of those is a roof that's open to anybody to come up anytime. If you're spending hundreds of $1,000s on a roof and it's a TPO roof, you have to protect that investment. And the way you protect it is you put a lock on the roof access, and you don't let nobody up on that roof. And if you're gonna let somebody up on that roof, you take pictures before they were up, and then you take pictures after they're gone. And of course, you document their insurance, because of a lot of these people that have condos, have a wide open roof that anybody can come open on anytime. They hire the cheapest person that they could find. I understand we all have budgets and we can only all afford what we can. So sometimes you have tenants that just don't have the money and they need AC. Hey, AC, you need AC in South Florida. You could pass away from a heat stroke. So I get it. We all are going to hire what we can with what we got. But as far as like letting people on a TPO roof, this is a no-no. You really have to be very strict and document it. And yeah, so the modified system's a lot better for that. That system's a lot more durable. And it's something that if it was my roof, I would stick to the modified, just because God forbid something does blow across the roof, you just don't even have to worry about contacting and dealing with insurance, because as long as it wasn't big enough to puncture the roof, then you'd be fine. So those are your two basic ones. Those are your two basic systems that you're going to see in South Florida, Mark.
Right. And what is elastomeric? I'm using that generically.
Absolutely. So elastomeric is an interesting product, and it's used in many different ways. Here at Paletz Roofing, we only use coatings that are approved, and that are UL listed. And there's a very strict way to put down coatings on top of roofs. A lot of people hear the word elastomeric, and it was kind of brought to them through Home Depot and through Handyman. And the idea used to be, hey, I have this elastomeric in a bucket, and it's magic in a bucket, and I can spread it on top of my roof, and it's going to fix every single roof a leak. I don't have to pay a roofer to do it. I am going to be good to go. And unfortunately, that's just not the truth. Unfortunately, what happens when you put a coating on top of a roof, you got to understand, first of all, about moisture. And here in South Florida, we have hot and cold all the time. You know, about every morning you could go outside and you could see like dew on your car, you know. So that dew is happening almost every day. And when you coat your whole roof with these coatings, um, it can make the moisture gather underneath the coating. So it will stop your leak for a little while. But first of all, you're not supposed to just coat over moisture that's already in your roof. And our manufacturers require us to go ahead and do a moisture test or a pull test first before we can do that. And what that does is that lets us identify where you have moisture underneath your roof, because the proper way to put down these coating systems on your roof is to fix the repair first. And I know that a lot of you would probably get sad and say, oh, you know, but yeah, it's not supposed to be something that you paint on top of existing leaks. So the coating systems are very well, but they're not a magic can that you could paint on top of existing leaks. So that's number one that's important that most people don't know and that they think that they can do. And that's the big mistake they have, because what it does is it will stop your leak for a little while. But what it will do, especially on residential, if you have wood underneath your roof, what it's going to do is it's going to trap that moisture underneath, and you're going to start to have condensation that will make condensation gather underneath the layer of coating that you put on top. So yes, it's stopping the leak from the top, but what it's doing now is causing water and condensation underneath, which is soaking into your plywood. And a lot of times when you see people who have painted elastomeric over their residential houses that have plywood decks, a couple 5 years later, and this actually happened to a family member of mine, you know, a couple years later, my aunt went to go and redo her roof, and she had to replace almost, you know, all her wood, because what happened is it started accumulating the moisture underneath because she didn't do it properly. You know, a guy came and said, hey, I'm just gonna, you know, paint this stuff and your life's gonna be great. And her life was great for a while. You know, it stopped the leaks, but unfortunately, you know, a couple years later down the line, when she was ready to go ahead and do the roof replacement, you know, it cost her a lot more money. So coatings are great, but number one, always make sure that you're using approved products. Number two, make sure that your contractor has experience applying those products and checked his reviews and their reviews. And number three is to make sure that you get all of your information. Putting down a coating on your roof, you have warranty. You should have a warranty if you're using a proper system, just like a regular roof. So you want to get documentation. You don't want to let somebody go and just paint your roof and fly the coop. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you get all of your documentation together so that you are getting your money's worth of your coated system. So yeah, that's a basic rundown of coating systems. There's a lot to talk about with them, but number one is doing the repairs before you apply your coating systems. For the people out there at home that aren't going to be able to afford to have somebody, a professional, come out, just know that in your mind. You know, it's not a magic, you know, bucket that just, you know, makes things go away. So if you need to do it on your own, or if you have to have your maintenance guys do some things, then that's what you want to make sure. You want to make sure that you get those areas taken care of first and try to get the moisture out of the roof and covered before you go ahead and do any kind of coatings.
So Dennis, did you give that relative a friends and family discount?
Yeah. Well, we don't have big family discounts here, so but she got a little break.
Dennis, I was fortunate enough to have Paletz Roofing do my roof back in 2017. And there's a product called a Rooficide. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and
Yes.
tell them
Yeah.
how it save money and extend the life of the roof?
Absolutely. So Rooficide, first of all, is an amazing product. And, you know, I got a chance to meet the husband and wife, you know, a while back, and the product is actually made here in Florida. And what they did is they put together an amazing system, an amazing coating that it's got a copper. So they infuse copper with liquid, and it's an amazing product. That what it does is you can spray that on top of your roof, even after it's brand new. You know, when you get your roof installed, if you put this Rooficide on there, what it does is here in South Florida, we have the planes that are constantly flying over our head. We got the sun, we've got all type of stuff like that it ends up dirtying your roof. And this Rooficide product, they've done a great job, man. You apply it on your roof, and what it does is it's like a protectant. And what it does is it makes it to where when someone goes to clean it, annually, or depending on how many times you get it cleaned, when they go to clean it, the dirt doesn't stick and things don't stick to it. So it's an amazing product, and thank you. That's a great question, Charles. And anybody out there, if you would like me to share a link with theirs, I could share it with you. But yeah, the name is Rooficide, and we've been using them for many years now. And we have a couple trucks that go around, and they specifically install those coatings on properties. So whether you got your roof through us or not, you can use Rooficide, and it works for tiles and shingles. And it's an amazing product.
Charles, you're muted. Charles?
You might be on a call, Mark.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll keep on going. So yes, so Rooficide is definitely a good product that's local, and is a good thing to go ahead and extend the beautiful look of your roof and to keep it looking good for many years. So I think we were kind of wrapped up with our before hurricane checklist, right? We went over that. So during a hurricane, we could go ahead and talk about during a hurricane. So during the hurricanes, the main thing you want to do is stay safe. Double check to make sure that you don't have any boil water effects, in effect, because the first thing you want to do is take care of yourself, right? So hopefully everybody has their food situated, and checking on your boil water thing is a main thing, because a lot of people just overlook that, and that's a bad thing to overlook. And then another thing that you want to do during the hurricane is just have a phone book ready with all of your contractors in there. You should have, your roofers number in there. You should have a restoration company's number in there. You should have your maintenance department's number in there. If you have a maintenance man, you should have him ready. You should get as much contact information as you can of your insurance companies. You just want to have a nice list of all the people that you might need to call worst case scenario. And you want to have that list available and ready, and you want to share it with your other HOA members, because you never know if one person has an emergency and that's your main guy. Your president has an emergency because of one of his family members, and he had to run out. And then now the main person that has all of this information is gone. So you want to take a list and get all of your contractors and everybody that you need that has done work on your building, who you plan to be doing the work on your building. And you want to get that list, and you want to have it in front of you, and you want to share it with all of your board members. So that way everybody's on the same page. And what that does is it makes it to where to the next part we're getting to, the post part, when you're ready to move into the post part, that you have all your ducks in a row and you're ready to go. So yeah, during the hurricane, number one is to stay safe. You're definitely, number one is you're not, number one, we talked about the water, getting all your contacts information. But the main one, which to me is, do not go outside. A lot of people, they hear the wind slow down, they want to go outside. Well, maybe some of you don't have enough experience to know that hurricanes have an eye in the middle. Things get calm, and then once the eye passes, usually it's the heavier side on the back end. So you don't want to go outside during a hurricane. Stay inside. If you've done everything that we talked about on this list, then you're already prepared. And you want to stay inside and make sure that you listen on your radio, listen on the news to make sure that the hurricane's well past before you go outside. Because the last thing you want to do is go outside and try to start looking at things and have wind pick up, and there's lots of debris that can be on the floor, and so just stay inside. You've taken time to secure your property, and hopefully you would have watched this video and you have your file and you went through your checklist. And so stay inside and be safe. And then when the storm has passed, then you could go ahead and go outside and we could start to take a peek at any obvious damage. So yeah, I think that's going to be the basic thing for during the hurricane is staying safe. And then
Dennis, there's one question from Pamela that says, what is the tie down to rafter in a house?
Okay, so the rafters on a house are going to be if she's talking about rafters, then she's probably going to be talking about a wood truss building, right? So rafters are talking about the wood trusses that are attached to the block. So you have a block all the way around, that's your block house, then your rafters sit on top of that. Well, the rafters are set there, and the older houses, some of them don't have, they have old straps. Some of the older houses don't have nothing that were really old. So that's going to be called a tie down. And the tie downs, you can get those inspected. We have a company that does that too, that we work with, that we could send out for you guys. And what they do is they go around and check that. And the good thing about those is you can actually get rebates on your insurance. So if you will get an inspection done on your rafters in the tie down detail, and you get it done and you show it to your insurance company, then they're going to go ahead and give you, most of the time, they're going to give you a reduction on your policy.
Right, a mitigation credit.
Exactly. So that's a good question, Miss Pam. And yes, you definitely, it's a good idea to do. Especially you have an older house, and it could definitely save you money too on your insurance. So absolutely. That's what we use. We use a third-party company that comes out and does that. They're licensed for that. So we don't really get up there and do that on our own, because we like to leave it to the people who are licensed.
Oh, terrific. Thank you.
And that's a great question. Thank you, Pam. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, then it seems like we're getting closer to it's going to be our post-hurricane. So after the hurricane, first of all, we're all happy. We made it and we're safe. We didn't go outside too early, so that was a good thing. We didn't go outside and we stayed in the house and we're safe. So now that after the hurricane is here, so what we want to do is we want to get any pictures. We want to go around and take any pictures of any obvious damage that you have. That's important. Again, for your insurance company, is to have proof. A lot of people want to wait days on out after the storm to take their pictures. It's not a good idea. The best idea is to get it done after the storm, once things are safe. So that way you can have a timestamp on your picture to show your insurance company, like, hey, I have my pictures from before the storm with timestamps is nice. And the same thing after. And it just makes it to where you have documented proof on your photos. So, the first thing you want to do is get out there and get some photos of any obvious damage you have. And then if you do have, damage that you've assessed, you want to, of course, reach out to your insurance company. And the beautiful thing is that if you did the steps that we talked about, you're going to have all the information that they asked. You'll have your roofing file that has most of the stuff that they're going to ask for. So you'll be good with that to start with your insurance company. Another thing you can do is when you do go up there to take the photos and you see some damage, it's a good idea also to go ahead and call an inspector out there. So you definitely want to have someone, a roofer, to come out and take a peek, because you're a homeowner, you're an HOA member. A lot of things you might not pick up that a professional will, that we will. So I would definitely recommend to go ahead and have a post inspection, especially if we've had excessive winds. You know what I mean? If you've had any winds over 60 miles an hour, it's definitely a good idea to have a professional come out and take a look. If you can't afford to have a professional come out and take a look, then you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I will definitely give you a checklist, and I will walk you through things as much as possible. If you could send me some videos and some pictures of any areas that you have questions of, I would help you look at those, with my time. So, but it's definitely good to have the professionals come out afterwards, especially when we've had high winds above 60 miles an hour. And then the next thing is like, you shouldn't attempt to go ahead and start sealing your own roof. You don't want to start trying to fix things and covering things up before you let professionals take a look at them. Now, if we're talking about putting a tarp, absolutely. If some of you have maintenance people and have, the ability to put tarps are fine. But you don't want to start like just screwing things into your roof and doing things that could potentially cause more damage. So, leave the professional repairs up to the professionals. Cover yourself as much as possible until we can make it out to you. but just don't go and start putting screws and, trying to fix it on your own, because then all that does is it can actually void your warranty if you guys are commercial properties. Um, your warranty is covered by your roofer that put down the roof. And if you go out there and you start screwing through it and doing things to it, it voids the warranty, and that's things that we have to do as professionals to protect us. And it's neat. It's not even really about us. It's what our manufacturers require as well. Our manufacturers require us to be the only one that's on that roof for accountability. So anytime that other contractors start coming onto the roof and doing other things, and that includes you as the owner. So if you go up there and you're trying to help the situation, but you're making it worse, and then you don't let nobody come out to ever look at it. So you went up there and you did a makeshift repair, and now you didn't do a good job, and that repair now has been letting water in your roof for extensive amounts of time. You're going to void your warranty, and that's something you don't want to do. So yeah, don't go up there and try to do your own repairs. Worst case scenario, go ahead and get up there and get it covered, get it tarped, but don't try to start doing your own repairs. Just wait for the professionals.
Dennis, we have two questions. This is from Ralph, and he's asking about cleaning the TPO roof. Is it recommended? Is it risky and damaging it?
Okay. Yeah. How you doing, Mr. Ralph? That's a very good. Yes. So TPO can be damaged very easily by chemicals. So there are only products that are approved to clean TPO, and those are the products you want to use. Typically, you don't get many people doing it in-house, and that's when the mistakes happen. So if you're going to attempt to clean your TPO in-house with your maintenance department and stuff like that, let's just make sure you contact the manufacturer of your TPO and get it approved by them. Because again, TPO is a canvas material, and different chemicals can break it down and damage it. So yeah, it's a great question, Ralph. And yes, you definitely want to make sure that you get your chemicals, your cleaning chemicals approved before moving forward with them.
And then he has a follow-up. Do you offer roof maintenance contracts? And
Mm-hmm.
are pre and post hurricane inspections included as part of the maintenance contract?
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes ahead and asks, what other inspections would you normally include as part of the annual maintenance?
Mm-hmm.
Basically that's it, and it's tying in with the warranties, obviously.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, partner. That's a great question. We absolutely do warranty work, and we always do maintenance packages. So our maintenance packages, there's different levels that you can do. You can do 2 visits a year, and we could do packages that have everything included for hurricanes, pre and post. So it really depends on which package you pick. So the best thing to do would be able to reach out to our company. We could walk you through it to let you know what packages we have and what's included. And basically that would be, the best way to move forward, to make sure you can pick the package that's best for you. As far as the checklist and stuff like that, it's going to be the same checklist that we are going over here is what we are going to do when we're out there. So that's going to be the same. And yeah, we definitely have maintenance packages. And again, to kind of speak about it again is when you have a maintenance package with a roofing company, at least with ours, and I would say any bigger reputable roofing company, when you have a maintenance package and you're signed up with us, what you're doing is you're securing yourself a spot in line as well, man. Because after a hurricane and you have hundreds and hundreds of people all going, oh, we all have damage and we all need, we need a roofer right now. When you have that maintenance contract, established, you have your number in line. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. And yes, if he would like to reach out to me, I would definitely be able to get him contacted with the proper department, with our maintenance department, and they can go over all the options with him so he can understand, which one would be best for him in his area.
Dennis, can you just give a contact phone number or email?
Absolutely, I could. So our contact number in the shop is going to be, well, you could call my personal number, and my personal cell phone number is going to be 954-294-6893. And then our office number is going to be 1-888 888-916-7663. So those are going to be your contact numbers. You could also Google Paletz Roofing, and Paletz is spelt right here. It's PALETZ roofing.com. If you go on there, you could find us. You could Google us. We're very fortunate that we've been very serious about the way we do business with our community. We've got great reviews on there. I would always recommend whatever roofing company you reach out to, do your research. You know what I mean? Make sure that they have good recommendation, a good reputation, excuse me, and also check the Better Business Bureau. You know, it only takes about 3 or 4 minutes to go on Google and go to Better Business Bureau and type in the roofing company, because a lot of times you might have newer companies that don't have a lot of information out there yet. But if they have a lot of lawsuits going on, that'll come up in Better Business Bureau. And if you go to do business with somebody and you see that they got 4 or 5 lawsuits going on, in 1 year, then that's a pretty good, red flag to say, hey, that's not your person to go to. So, yes, that's our information you can reach out to, and definitely do your homework. It doesn't take long to do a little bit of research on someone that you're going to be using on your roof. Your roof is what protects everything, that's valuable to you underneath it. And it also protects your health. So, just don't be careful and make sure you do your research, and make sure that you make sure who you're doing business with.
Dennis, can I jump in real quick just to add a comment? One of the main things that unit owners or associations can do to protect their roof is do a pre-hurricane tree trimming as
Oh,
soon as
yeah.
hurricane season starts.
Oh, big
Get
time.
rid of all those coconuts because they become flying missiles.
100%.
And you got to get limbs trimmed at least 8 to 10 feet away from the roof. And insurance companies are getting really sticklers on renewals. If they see a limb that's within a certain distance of a roof, they're going to either tell you that you got to remove the limb or you got to trim the tree, or they will not write your insurance. Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Charles. So this is the thing, and I touched on a little bit earlier, and this is this beautiful, luscious South Florida environment that we have. And the trees, they love it here, and they grow effortlessly and endlessly. They don't stop. Every day they wake up and they're growing as much as they can. And all this beautiful sunlight we have and all this beautiful soil, it's just the perfect place. This is our paradise. And unfortunately, we have these trees that come from other countries. Charles, we have these trees that weren't actually natural here, and they grow so fast. 10 years ago, we didn't have these almond trees here so much, and now they're here, and it's like you blink your eye and you got a 25-foot tree in your backyard. So yes, what Charles is saying is absolutely true. And keeping an eye on your landscaping, and even if it's not above your roof line, like what Charles said, it's coconuts are flying objects, and it's important. It's a big important thing that a lot of people overlook. They're so busy looking down at their roof that they don't look around, man. And the landscape is a big deal, and trees are a big deal. I recommend people definitely, if you can get the trees chopped down below your roof level, you're just that much more better in the game. You know what I mean? That's what I always recommend. Hey, a lot of customers say, "Oh, I love that tree. It's been around." I said, "Okay, I understand you love the tree, but I hope that you love your, $400,000 roof as much as you love that tree." So I recommend people the same way to go ahead and, weigh the options. And if you can get the trees trimmed below the roof line, this is the perfect world to live in here in South Florida.
Terrific. I don't see any other further questions right now. Dennis, do you want to just wrap anything up as far as do
Yeah.
contact information maybe one more time? And also just for everyone to keep in mind, you can always go on to our website, which is cargforhelp.org. That's CARG, the number 4, and then help, HELP.org. And all the contact information will be there for all of our different members. And if anybody has any questions really on any of the other specialties that our members provide, you can go ahead and contact us through email right from that site. I know that budget season is coming up right now. We're in the process of doing all the budget worksheets for our clients. So now is really a good opportunity if you have questions for any of the specialties, to reach out. They're more than willing just to give you some education and advice. There's no cost involved in that. And happy budget season.
Awesome. Well, okay, so I'll tell you what, Mark, since we had a couple questions, we did kind of get stopped in the middle of after the post-hurricane. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it back up, and I'm going to go through real quick, just to kind of start from the beginning, just to make sure if anybody logging on now doesn't miss anything. So number one, of course, was to take any pictures of any damages that you have. Number two is to go ahead and contact your insurance companies if you do have damage, to get the ball rolling with that. Number three is to not try to do any repairs on your own stuff. Let the professionals do it. Get up there, cover it up with some tarps, but don't start trying to be a roofer. Contact a roofer and get some help so that you can get it done in a professional way and that it doesn't void your warranty. And that's the main thing. When we're here, we're talking about associations, we're talking about condos. So these buildings, you have warranties. And if you go up there and you start messing with the roof, you're going to void your warranty, and we don't want to see that happen. So that's one thing is, yeah, go ahead and don't start doing your own repairs. Wait for the professionals. The next one is very important, and that's after storms, you're going to have a lot of contractors who are all out on the streets and they're trying to take advantage of all this work that's happening. There's no problem with that. The only problem is that when you're talking about letting people that are unknown contractors, roofers, repairmen, handyman, you want to make sure that the people that you're using are licensed and insured. Because if they're not licensed and insured and they're not registered with the county or with the state, then you have no protection. At that point, they could take your money, they could run, and you're going to be in a civil suit with somebody that might not even be from this state. So you don't want to let people come and convince you to sign contracts with them or give them cash in hand. You definitely don't want to start handing out cash to people. That's a no-no. Any reputable company is not going to be out here looking for cash in their hand. So be careful with the cash deposits or even checks, to unknown people. You're going to have lots of people from other states that come here, and they try to take advantage of people while they're in their lowest. So you want to do your best to make sure, yeah, we know that everybody wants to get their roof fixed, but if you can get it covered, you got time. Don't freak out and don't start giving your cash over to people. Check with your family members that are elders. A lot of times you have some of our elders that get taken advantage of because you have these people that come around and they take advantage of them. They talk fast and they convince them to do things that just aren't right. So just take a minute to make sure that you understand that, this is basically a disaster zone, and there's people who take advantage of disasters and prey on people. So make sure that the roofers that you're using are licensed and they're insured, and you should definitely try to stick to local people. And if you're not going to stick with a local roofer, do your research. Make sure that they're licensed in their state, which should supersede our state. So do your research. It doesn't take a long time. You don't have to panic. You can get there's a lot of companies that will come out and put a tarp on your roof for free. You have a lot of different organizations that help. Here at Paletz Roofing, we've helped people in the past for hurricanes over on the West Coast, and we always do our best. So don't panic, just get it covered up, and don't start dealing with people that are asking for cash and that aren't reputable companies.
Dennis, I have a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Let's say some of the folks listening today already have a roofing company. They're happy with them. They don't want to really make a change, but they also want to keep them honest.
Right.
You also provide services of like roof consulting, maybe to make sure
Absolutely.
that they're not getting screwed by whoever they're using now.
Absolutely. So the one thing I tell all of my customers is this: whether you use pallets or not, I want to educate you so that you have enough experience to not be taken advantage of. So
There you go.
I can tell you that you can reach out to our company anytime. You can reach out and ask for me, Dennis Leshane, personally. And it's one of the things that I pride myself on because I'm big on community, and I tell people that all the time. Hey, if you have other estimates in front of you, it doesn't matter if you use us or not. I want to take a minute and educate you so you can make the right decision to make the decision that's right for you, whether you use us or not. So absolutely, I mean, that's a great thing. And there's nothing wrong with that because any company should be confident of the services they're providing. And let's say if one of our customers comes to us and says, hey, we would like to have someone take a peek at what's going on. We tell people all the time, absolutely. You're more than welcome to invite anybody to the job site. Of course, you got to let us know so we could safely get them up and down off the roof and make sure that, that they're not hurt. But any reliable roofing company would always be open to anybody, looking over things. So we absolutely do that. We do consulting. We work with local engineers, many local engineers. And yeah, we would definitely be willing to do our best to make sure that the proper information is conveyed so that as a community, that we can be strong and we can be protected because that's what's important to us at Paletz. We've been open for over 20 years and we're okay. Whether we get every single customer, that's not important to us. What's important to us is that every single customer is treated like family and is educated in a way that they understand what they're getting into and that they don't get taken advantage of.
Sounds
So
great. So before we head out and before Mark takes over for some parting words, Dennis, what's the last thing you want people to remember? The best way to contact you and any parting words?
well, yeah, I mean, I got one more quick thing about the after hurricane
Oh,
and
okay.
that's we talked about the contaminated drinking water is really important, for your health. Down power lines, please be very careful when you come out that you aren't just walking around worried about your roof, man, and you're being unsafe. Look for down power lines. Be careful of cars. You got cars that are driving off the road and doing things. So, you just want to make sure that you're careful with any down power lines or any, debris on the floor as you're walking around trying to take pictures that protect your roof. Another thing is gas and water leaks. Come outside and if we all know what gas smells like, it's got the rotten egg smell. Be careful and smell and I want you to be careful. I want you to make sure your roof's taken care of, but more importantly, I want to make sure that your life is taken care of, and that's number one for us at Paletz. We want you all to be safe out there after the hurricane. So, step outside, make sure everything's clean. Don't just grab your camera and just go crazy. Stop and look around and make sure you're safe. Make sure there's not down trees. Make sure there's not any down power lines is the main one. Gas leaks. When you walk outside, smell a little bit, man. And if you smell the gas leaks, you're gonna want to contact the utilities and let them know. It's a big one. Also unstable structures, man. When you walk outside your door, you're gonna have awnings. Maybe a lot of you have awnings. You have decorative panels. You have all of these things that are screwed onto the outside of the buildings, and make sure that there's nothing hanging. That's halfway hanging. We don't want to see you get hurt. And then a big thing that we want to talk about is everybody wants to get out there and snap a couple pictures and that's fine. And then they want to get back to getting air conditioning and power. So there's a really big thing is generators are an amazing thing that we all love and they get us right back up where we need to be as far as having power and having a refrigerator and having hot water and a little bit of air conditioning. But please make sure with these generators that you do not run them inside your house. Please make sure you check on your elders and your family and make sure that they, we start to get older in this, and I'm guilty for it myself. I start to do things backwards here lately in my older age. So, make sure you check on your people because the generators are something we all rush to, but you can't run them inside. You can't run them out on your balcony and leave your sliding glass door open. The generator has a muffler that points one way. And if you have that thing out on your balcony and you went and bought that really little quiet one because you said, hey, you know what? I got this little tiny quiet generator and I could run my refrigerator. I could run this little fan and it could make me comfortable. I'm with you 100%. I love fans. I love cold food, but please be careful with your generators, man, because this is one of the things that so many people pass away from. And now in this day and age that we have these little quiet generators, everybody's just so wanting to put them in their garage and put them on their balcony and some people put them inside their house. So please be careful with your generators, and keep them outside, and never refill your generator with gas while it's running. You know what I mean? Because that can start a fire. And yeah, I just wish everybody a beautiful and amazing hurricane season. It's been quiet so far. We had that one storm that just intensified a record. I think it went from a 1 to a 5 in less than a day, which is a little bit scary. But hey, in the end of the day, as long as we take the time like we are today and get with each other and get with professionals and take a couple minutes to listen to what we should do to keep each other safe, you know. And again, to check on our elders, because a lot of times we forget, you know, that as you get up in age, sometimes, you know, your thought process is not the same. So I think it's important that we all keep track of each other, and we all take a little bit of time to make sure that we're all informed and ready for these hurricanes that we're so blessed to have here in South Florida. And yeah,
Dennis, yeah, I want to thank you. We're up against a clock. I know people are looking at their clocks because they want to go to lunch, because we called it for an hour or so. We went over just a little bit.
okay.
But really, just to wrap up, we want to, thank Dennis. He's part of our COG group. So again, you can always reach him there. And the other thing that Dennis was mentioning, as far as, he's willing to go ahead and, always talk to somebody, give some advice. There's no cost or obligation for that. And the
Nope.
same thing goes for all the other members of CARG. If you look at our website, and again, it's cargforhelp.org, CARG 4, the number 4, and then help, HELP.org. You can always go ahead and give us a call, just to talk. And just, if you want to just pick our brains, that's fine also. So again, I want to thank everybody. Charles, thanks for staying on. I see that you have your buddy over there.
You saw that?
Yeah. And everybody stay safe during hurricane season, obviously. And like I say, reach out to us if we can be of any resource, even for a sounding board, just to talk about any of the areas that COG goes ahead and handles. Again, Dennis, thanks so much. I think everybody realized now, after speaking to you, you're one of the good guys, and your company is one of the good guys.
Hey, well, we do our best, man, and we we love our community, and number one is that we're all safe. It's above business is safety. So thank you. I appreciate you having us out today, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I hope that everybody is a little bit more informed and a little bit more comfortable, stepping into this hurricane season.
Terrific, and stay tuned, because like I said, we have another webinar coming up at the end of the month on pest control, which will be informative. And everybody stay safe.
All right.
Thank you, Dennis.
All
Thank
right.
you, Mark.
Have a great day,
welcome.
everybody.